Okay, so I felt like making a quick video about like relationships and kids, just out of curiosity. Um, I don't know. I thought it might be interesting for somebody. I thought if anybody gains any kind of insight on this, or it helps, then this video was worth making. So that goes for every video, I guess. Everything you share with other people. So whatever. I was listening to Layla Hormozy get interviewed on like the Iced Coffee podcast or something. A couple guys. They're talking about relationships and kids, and I just think it's super interesting. A couple of things that they said, like she talked about a few different types of relationship, and I thought that's really cool. Anytime you can learn about where you are in the world, or like what kind of framework you can establish for yourself, so you know where you are and what you're doing, how it fits into different possibilities, you know, as far as your job, what type of relationship you're in, that kind of stuff. I think it's interesting. Just to provide context so you understand what else could be, so that you can make that happen if you want. You know, you can change them. Anyway, she's talking about kids, and I have a son, so I thought that it might be helpful for somebody to hear my perspective, or just to, I don't know, self-aggrandizement, whatever. But kids, there's like a yin and yang to everything, and maybe the yang, I don't know. Peterson talks about like the feminine is the chaos, and I think feminine is yang, which I always thought was the other way around. But basically, like, the dark side of having kids is that your kids, it's kind of twofold. There's the dark side of having children, because it's a subject-object relationship, like you and the child. Not that your kids are objects, but you and the child relationship creates a subject-object. It creates basically consciousness. It creates an awareness of something. So because there's an observer and an observee, right? So with you and your kid, there's a dark aspect in both directions. From the kid to you is that they are unsuccessful and they don't like you, and that's what they talked about in the podcast. So if your kids are unsuccessful and they don't like you, you have to be okay with that. So if you're considering having kids, make sure you're okay with that first, because I mean, prepare for the worst, hope for the best, and plan for the best, right? But be aware of the worst, right? And plan mitigating factors to reduce the worst. So, now, that's from the kid to you. Okay, that's the negative aspect in the direction of your children to you. They are unsuccessful, they don't like you, they do nothing with their life, and you know, you have nothing to really, I don't know, maybe you're okay with that. And if you are okay with that, then I think you could have kids. That's a box you should probably check. Am I okay with the worst case scenario there? Now, the dark side of having children, from you to your children, in the other direction, right? This is from you, the subject, I guess, or to the object, or whatever, observer to observee, is that you may cast your own unfulfilled dream onto the child. And this is pretty stereotypical, archetypal, like a lot of this stuff people may have heard of, but like, you know, if you can't fulfill your dream because you're too scared, or you can't fulfill it because you just haven't found out how, you're going to have a child. And if you have a child, I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to take a lot of time, money, energy. And eventually it'll take less, I guess, because when they're a baby, like, they really, really, really need you for everything. So it'll take some time. Having kids takes time, obviously. This is a given. But if you haven't, before having a child, you haven't dedicated the time and the energy to manifesting your dreams or creating the environment to bring the child into that you want, then that child may have the weight of the world on their shoulders, which is a little ironic considering my son's middle name is Atlas. Yeah, I don't know if you can see me. Hopefully you can. But yeah, well, we liked the name, and I still like it. We still like the name. I think it's an awesome name. So I'm gonna, hopefully you can see me better like this. Does that work? Cool. So, anywho, yeah, two dark aspects of having children, from the child to you and from you to the child. They're miserable and unhappy, and the other way, you're miserable and unhappy, but you kind of cast that onto them. So, you know, the theme, I guess you can flip these things on their heads to create a better picture and a better future, a better outcome. So, like with your child, it's really hard to control another person. So if you're going to have children and you're weighing the pros and cons and you're looking at the worst potential outcome, like, you have to understand that there are things in any decision that you're going to make that you can't control. Those things you have to be willing to accept, or you have to be able to navigate or manipulate somehow so that it's worthwhile, so that the decision makes sense. With children, if they're miserable and they hate you, if you're okay with that, you have to kind of look at that negative aspect and just make peace with it. There's not a whole lot that you can do there because it's always a possibility. So that's one that you navigate just by emotionally, from the emotional side, making peace. But from the negative aspect, you to the child, that you can approach from a more rational standpoint, meaning like you have more control over that and you can take steps to avoid that. And I think that one of the greatest solutions, one of the boxes that most people should check for having kids, and this translates into my theory, my belief on when you absolutely should have children. From you to the child, you know, if you have unfulfilled dreams, that can create a problem, obviously, a lot of weight and pressure on the child. But I think that in the converse situation where you not only you have dreams, some people don't have a dream at all, but if you do have a dream and you're able to fulfill it and actualize it, bring it to life in the world, that's the hero's journey, you know, fulfilled. That's important. And if you're able to demonstrate that and do that, you know, obviously that's a sign of character development. That's great. That's all well and good. But if you can do that, you can manifest your dreams, right? Which I think people might kind of blow off as like, oh, your dreams, talk about your dreams, do follow your passion, whatever. It's like, no, that's it actually matters. Like, that's actually important to like give serious weight to your ability to do that. So because it's important and because of the weight that bears, you know, your ability to manifest betterment in the world, to earn goodwill from other people and to create something better in the world. Like, there's good and bad, there's good and evil in the world in abundance. And I think that human beings are unique in that we have a certain degree of cognitive ability and opposable thumbs and things like this. And, you know, we can coordinate and work as a community and a team to make things happen a little bit better maybe than other species. You know, we swim, we kind of climb, we kind of run, we kind of dig, whatever, but not as well as other things. So we're very, you know what I mean? We have, what I'm saying is that we have this ability to bring about positive change in the world that a lot of other species may not. At least positive in the way that we hyper-intellectualize and we claim to be positive. So all this to say, if you're able to manifest your dreams, you and so that's a big ask. That's a big first task, a big box to check. So once you've done that, you've dedicated time to your career, say part of your dream is to have children, to have a family, you're able to find a partner who you could see having children with because of your values and you have the same, you know, dream as well. If you can do all those things, then I think that it makes, and the next box, if you want children. If you don't want kids, don't have kids, obviously. But if you do want kids, I think that if you're able to bring your dream into reality and you want children, you almost have an obligation to have children. And the reason is because not everyone is creative, okay? So some people, it's kind of, you know, like, you can talk about it as a curse, where like, you're a creative person. That's so cool. You're good at art, or you're good at starting up your own little lawn care business or whatever. Like, that's great, but not everyone's like that. And if you are one of those people, it's kind of a curse in that you're always going to have to be creative in some sense to feel fulfillment and enjoyment and like kind of peace with your productivity and enjoyment in life. You kind of balance those things by expressing your creative potential. And with that, if you're someone who is, you know, able to manifest your dreams, you probably have some creative, you know, element, you know what I mean? You have a shred of creative ability. So if you have that and the desire to have children, what this means is that you can transfer that ability. So you can teach your kids how to do what you've done. And this kind of goes into the dark side, right? You don't want to push on your kids to like live your unmet task, to meet your unfulfilled dream, but you should be able to demonstrate that you can do it yourself. And if you can't quite yet, in my case, like I haven't quite yet, and I know it's hypocritical, like I have children and I haven't quite met all my dreams, but for me it's an extra motivator. It's a push to make it happen, to demonstrate through my actions, not my words. I mean, my son's like 2. He doesn't know what I'm saying most of the time, and if he does, it's at a very, we're not talking about theoretical physics or something. Like, we're talking about basic, day-to-day things. And if you can make those things happen, or if you can use, I guess you can allow and I mean, I hate saying use your kids, but like, they drive you to create something better and become the person that you need to be for them and for yourself. That can be a force for good. So for me, I'm kind of in between. I'm trying to bridge the gap, but I think, philosophically, this video might be useful for somebody, my past self, somebody in my previous shoes, or maybe somebody that's in my shoes. So you kind of haven't, what I'm saying is that there's, good and bad to having children, obviously, and that can go in both directions, from your children to you, or from you to your children. Now, if you are living your dream and you do want children, you can teach your children how to do the same, and they might teach other people how to do that as well. We'd have a healthier planet. We'd have a lot more people doing what they want to do, more dreams being fulfilled. It's kind of a compounding effect, like, you have it in investing or whatever, but the more people that are doing good in the world, I think the better world that you'll have, and I think that can't be discounted. So take all that into consideration. That was a lot of talking. That was a lot of stuff. Hopefully somebody found it helpful. This is a new father's perspective on having children and the implications thereof for the world and for your development as a person. So I hope this was helpful. I don't know, however you're watching this, you can tell me what you thought, but just make the most of the rest of your day, and maybe have kids, maybe don't.